Hello everyone, so today we're going to go over the functions of Congress, how it works and how it is run. So for starters, there is the leadership. In both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, there are two leading figures in each one of them. In the House of Representatives, we have what is known as the Speaker of the House. Currently, Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House, and in the Senate, the President of the Senate. Who is also the Vice President of the United States. Currently, Mike Pence, the current Vice President, is considered the President of the Senate. Now, in the event that the Vice President of the United States is not available due to him traveling or doing whatever he's doing, there is a constitutional rule where a President pro tempore or a temporary president is allowed to take over. And currently, Senator Chuck Grassley is the President pro temp. They are usually voted by the majority party, who currently right now is being taken over or ran by the Republican Party. After the official leadership that's written in the Constitution, there are known as floor leaders. Now, these floor leaders are not official and they don't constitutionally have any power. In both houses, there are majority and minority leaders. These majority and minority leaders are picked by each party and often carry out the decisions and views of their political parties. So, for example, in the Senate right now, there is a majority of Republican senators, meaning that the majority leader is a Republican. And then same thing goes for the minority. The minority party, the Democrats, have a minority leader. Within each party, there is a whip. They are also known as assistants to the leaders, who are in charge of making. These whips are in charge of making sure that all of their members show up to vote and ensure that the votes go the way of the political party. Now, as we discussed in the last slide, many of the laws written by Congress are not actually discussed on the floor. A majority of the laws are written and worked on and edited in committees. And again, just like in any other situation, which is like Congress, not every single member is in the same committee. In the House especially, since there are more than 400 members, some members of the House are in multiple committees. 3, 4, even 5. In the Senate, however, there may be a senator who's maybe 1, 2, maybe 3. So again, many of the bills are created and looked over by the committees, which then will decide to be voted upon either in the House or in the Senate. Currently, there are 20 standing, also known as permanent committees, in the House that are listed there, and 16 standing committees in the Senate. As you can see, some of the committees may share similar names, such as Agriculture in the House and Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry in the Senate, Appropriations, Armed Services. There are also joined committees in which both the House representatives and senators meet up in, but those will not be discussed right now. And within every single committee, there are other subcommittees as well that take a look at every single individual bill that goes through their path. And then once again, the representatives and senators most likely are part of more than one committee or subcommittee. So, how a bill becomes a law. So again, most bills do not actually originate in Congress by lawmakers, mostly from the executive branch trying to gain influence in Congress would write up the bill itself and hand it off to somebody within their party who would bring it up in committee, or an interest group may write it up, or even a citizen may write up a law and maybe submit it to their representative or senator, which they would bring up in committee. Once a bill is presented to the House, it is sent off to the appropriate committee to be looked over. At this point in the committee is where often bills would be rejected, or they would be sent out to the floor to be debated on and voted on by the entire chamber. Once it goes through that part, then it would be sent through the subcommittees again to be looked over. And then once the subcommittee sends it back to the committee, it is then added to the calendar to be discussed on the floor of the House. And then right there we have the classic Schoolhouse of Rock, just the bill, which oversimplifies it, but it's a good way to remember the order of it. Now, once it gets to the House floor for the final debate, representatives from each party will have 1 hour to speak about the bill. This rule was implemented in 1841, primarily because, again, you have hundreds of people in one area, one chamber, trying to speak their mind on the bill, but there really isn't that much time realistically. When it's time to vote, representatives have realistically two options, but there's a third option, which I'll get into. A yay vote, meaning yes, and a nay vote, which is basically no. The third option is just a present, meaning that they didn't want to wish to vote on it, but they wanted to be counted as being part of the House that day. On the graphic on the right side, you'll see there a fourth column, which is the no vote. That basically means that they were probably present. Now, if a bill is approved by a majority of the House, then it's sent off to the Speaker of the House, who would give the stamp of approval from the House and send off to the Senate for review. Now, once the bill gets to the House, the bill is actually subject to the same steps as it was in the House. The bill will go through the ringer in the committees, and from the committees it would go to the subcommittees, be looked upon, taken apart, put back together again. And some occasions too, they would even call for people to come up and speak about the bill. And then once the subcommittees obviously give us a stamp of approval, look over, it's being sent back up to the committee, and then from the committee, it's decided to be voted upon by the entire Senate. Now, the rules, however, for the Senate are much different than they are for the House. In the House, you had a 1 hour limit of speaking upon the bill. There are no time limits for senators to talk about a bill in the Senate. This is where we get the filibuster coming into play. A filibuster is primarily used by senators to either talk up a bill to get more attention for it, or to try to kill a bill. In doing so, senators, once they get the opportunity to speak upon it, they would hold their ground and speak for hours upon hours about whatever they want to. That's why a filibuster is so unique. You don't have to speak about the bill. You can talk whatever you would like. There have been occasions where filibusters have been created or done, and people will just recite from a textbook or from a book or even sing out lyrics. There are rules, however, to filibustering. You're not allowed to sit, lean, or move from your area from which upon you have your original seat in. That way you aren't caught cheating. There are ways, however, to really kill a filibuster, and that's known as a cloture roll. You're going to need at least 3/5 of the senators to agree upon before debating that a bill will not spend any more than 30 hours on the floor, or wouldn't be talked about for more than 30 hours. In most cases, it's very difficult to get 60 senators to agree upon that, because the majority is usually around just above 50 senators. Once the bill is passed and agreed upon by the senators, it is finally sent off to the president to either be signed into law or vetoed. And here's where we leave off for the Senate and Congress. And next week we'll move into the executive branch.